we've seen a real significant uptick in the ability for adversaries to rapidly identify software flaws that have been recently patched and move those from theoretical to active exploits in a matter of hours and days, where it used to take days and weeks.
Colin Ahern is the CISO for the state of New York, and of course, joining us here for the conversation as well is the one and only Dave DeWalt. Dave, Colin, great to have both you guys. Thanks a lot for doing this.
Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. It's like coming home, like reunion here at the show floor and the stock exchange. So great to have and be back.
Of course.
Yeah.
And we're here for an incredible event. We're partnering with NightDragon and the iconic New York Stock Exchange. What goes through your mind here, Dave, for considerations when you got a guest who represents the state of New York like Colin, and a bit about your relationship for anyone watching who might be a bit unfamiliar?
Well, first of all, it's just wonderful to be here. Thank you for hosting us, and wonderful to be not only at the exchange, but be in New York and be with Colin as well, because you are you're one of the foundation rocks for cybersecurity, I always love to say, and the first deputy director of the New York Cyber Command, and you have a chief cyber officer title, which I just love as well. So it's amazing things. Maybe spend a minute, if you would, and just talk a little bit about the threat environment for a second. I just think we as a team maybe should talk about a couple of the news things that are happening around the world and how it affects someone like you.
Real pleasure to be back at the exchange, an iconic New York institution. I was appointed by Governor Kathy Hochul as the state's first ever chief cyber officer a couple of years ago. And really what we've seen over the last several years is really a convergence. It used to be that nation state threat actors, financially motivated cyber criminals, and ideologically motivated individuals and groups really had three separate targets, three separate capabilities. But really over the last several years, with the proliferation of artificial intelligence topics, the weaponization of the internet and things like that, we're really seeing these groups come together in terms of who's doing what and to whom. So unfortunately, it means that no longer are there a select group of people in Washington, D.C. that are the only ones facing sophisticated cyber threats. It's really small and medium-sized businesses, states and local governments, privately owned critical infrastructure, and of course, financial institutions which are facing a wide array of sophisticated cyber threats, the likes of which 5, 6, 7 years ago, we only saw go against military and nation-state type targets.
I can attest to that for a minute, just having been the CEO of FireEye and Mandiant and McAfee over the years, watching the growth of the number of attackers, the types of attacks that we're seeing. And now we got really interesting names like Scattered Spider and, Fancy Bear and Cozy Bear and all the cool names of attackers, right?
I don't know if you saw, I was on the front page of the Journal earlier this week. Angus from the Journal Cybersecurity Beat had a really interesting story about the sort of cartoony names in the space being both a blessing and a curse. So it's great to see the vernacular evolve. It's really interesting to see the private sector take a real leadership role in the cyber threat intelligence landscape, like some of your iconic companies, Dave. But what I do think is, unfortunately, these are serious people in a serious business, and that's for the most part to make money. And they want to both financially gain, but they also want to threaten the American way of life. So that's why I'm, so pleased to be talking about this topic with you guys today.
And Colin, what do you think most makes New York's cyber strategy unique among all the states in the U.S.?
I think a couple of things. Number one is Governor Kathy Hochul's commitment to resilience, to public safety, to cybersecurity and cyber resilience as inseparable from the topics of people's feelings of safety and public safety as the foremost concern of the government. She released the state's first ever cybersecurity strategy in August of 2023. And that really talked about three things. Number one, being unified. We can either succeed together or we can fail separately. Number two, resilience. We have to plan for bad days. We have to understand that they'll occur. And number three is preparedness. We must not just be resilient in our day-to-day activities, but we must contemplate a future in which these systems won't work, but the essential features of government, the services it provides, the communication ability of the government to its citizens and its residents and its businesses needs to proceed unimpeded. So I think that her strategy has been brought to life in a number of ways. I think first and foremost is she's been enforcing minimum standards for life sector critical infrastructure entities like hospitals. She has put the state's resources behind making these entities more secure, $500 million for hospitals to become more cyber secure in last year's budget. And then obviously she's been preparing along with the federal government and state and local governments across the region to share information, to collaborate. And actually, 2 days before Putin's disastrous war of choice in the Ukraine kicked off in February of 2022, she launched New York State's Joint Security Operations Center, and we now protect over 100,000 government computers in 55 counties, 34 municipalities across the state.
In my opinion, it's the most powerful command, New York Cyber Command and operations, any state in the United States, as well as anywhere in the world. So congrats on all the success you and the governor are having on that.
And I think it's, nonlinear returns to scale. It's doing things that are essential and doing them in a way that obviously furthers the public good and saves taxpayers money. It's cheaper to do 100,000 of something than it is to do 50 of something.
Colin, maybe just take a second and extend that. Public-private partnerships are really important too. And, having served the White House for 5 administrations and various commands myself, public-private partnership changes each administration, but also public-public between state and city with the federal government. How are you seeing it right now? And, I know it's a new administration. They're ramping up. We got a lot of, optimism in some ways, but there's also a lot of change in process. How's it affected you?
Really, the governor's been clear that we need the federal government. They have important capabilities. They have a leadership role that we tremendously value. We work very closely with them in the Joint Terror Task Force, the Department of Defense. A couple of touch points we have. Our Division of Military and Naval Affairs has one of the only cyber protection teams in our National Guard. We share that with the governor of New Jersey, Cyber Protection Team 73. Obviously, the Department of Financial Services is one of the world's premier financial regulators. We have the Department of Environmental Conservation, which is doing important work in offshore wind and other resilience. The governor's announcement yesterday about the importance of nuclear energy for our shared future and technology landscape. We see a tremendous opportunity to continue working closely with the federal government. Obviously, Sean Cairncross, the new director of, National Cyber Director, Sean Planky, new director of the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, Brett Leatherman, the FBI's new top cyber official. They have a team that we're eager to work with. And obviously, it's early days yet, but between myself and the governor and the rest of her administration, like we said before, we can either succeed together or we can fail separately. There's really not a middle ground or another path.
Cyber's a team sport. We know that. Public-private is really important. The whole industry working together is really important. We didn't say the word AI. You said artificial intelligence, but not AI yet. Yeah. And for me, coming off of some of the big security tech events, it was like AI agentic, every other sentence, right? But it has a lot of promise as well. Like we're seeing opportunity. The offense is seeing opportunity and the defense is seeing opportunity. Say a little bit from a practitioner point of view. What does AI mean to you?
A couple of things. On the upside, we're really eager to continue New York's, punching above our very significant weight in terms of artificial intelligence, microelectronics, semiconductors. Just a couple of touch points. We have Global Foundries building a big fabrication facility outside of Syracuse. We have Micron Technologies building one of the largest semiconductor fabs in the entire world. Actually, Micron makes memory semiconductors. Their memory chips are inside the next generation of NVIDIA's graphical processing units. So New York has a lot to say and a lot to offer in AI and GPUs more generally. Additionally, the Empire AI Consortium is a world-leading public-private partnership. The state's investing over $250 million to build a high-performance supercomputer outside of Buffalo that'll be used by researchers, will be available to startups. And that really continues the governor's commitment of making sure that the jobs of the future are jobs that you got to come here to get them. And I think on some of the risks that we're looking to manage, you mentioned agentic AI, we've seen a real significant uptick in the ability for adversaries to rapidly identify software flaws that have been recently patched and move those from theoretical to active exploits in a matter of hours and days, where it used to take days and weeks. So you have, fuzzing and open source projects and other things and patch malware reverse engineering where, the bad guys are seeing their 10x programmers become 100x. Just like I think some of your companies have been seeing that as well. Unfortunately, the bad guys and gals, they're not sleeping on it either.
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot before, you and I, Dave, about the so-called bad guys leveraging a lot of the same tools and technologies you're trying to use for good. In the spirit of private-public partnerships, it's a comparable question for both of you, and I'll start with the government side, if you don't mind, Colin. How do you go about attracting and retaining top cyber talent for, in your case, the government of New York State, in your case, Dave, for NightDragon? I'll start with you, Colin.
I think really everyone's looking for three things. Number one is a strategic outlook. Number two is technical acumen. And number three is domain knowledge. So we're in a fight just like others to achieve a critical mass of talented cyber professionals and technologists more broadly. But we have things that others don't. We have a very unique mission. We have a long-standing tradition of an extremely capable civil service. The governor actually last year in the budget did the most significant reform of the state civil service in over 50 years, continuous testing, abating some of the testing fees, making it more widely available throughout the state, evolving some of the entry and other requirements, like moving from a model where you have to have certain degrees for certain positions, because the governor understands that, this is not a problem that we can solve with traditional methodologies. And so additionally, the governor has been really, really, I think, laser focused on making sure that we're attracting the right person for the right reasons. And so while we have seen governments at other levels take some, in our view, steps backward, our view is that, we can attract a new class of civil servant that will dramatically improve and make more efficient government services, because that's what this is all about. Government is a service provider.
Yeah. And are those the same considerations in the private side of things for you?
It is. I mean, this is one of our existential problems in America. I mean, I start out by saying that because we have a cyber talent problem here in America. We haven't really systematized education at the highest levels in order to provide the workforce that's needed. There's over 3.5 million open cyber jobs around the world right now. 3.5 million. And one of the problems we have is exactly what Colin just said, is teaching them and training them and making it pragmatic for them to take these jobs. And when you look at America's university systems, there's not a lot of higher education in cyber. So one of the things we did with NightDragon was we found a company who built a SaaS platform that does automated education in a sandbox to train people. These are like, tech for vets, veterans, and wounded warriors, but also students. You could take an Uber driver and teach them how to do cyber with pragmatic training. So scaling using technology and using AI is a way we could close that workforce and provide a lot more jobs here in America where we need it. And this is what we got to do, is leverage that tech, leverage our infrastructure, and do it. So we're thinking about how to scale it at a big level.
That's awesome. Finally, if you don't mind me asking, Colin, talk to me a bit, and Dave, both of us here, your long-term vision for cybersecurity and cyber resilience for the state of New York.
I think it's really bringing the governor's vision to life. It's where we have a unified government aligning with our federal partners and our county and local governments. We're working closely with the private sector. Private sector owns 85% of critical infrastructure in New York State. So this is not something where the government's going to do it by itself and the private sector is going to be over here. That's not an option. Number two is resilience. The resilience practices are evolving every day. So disaster recovery in the cloud, business continuity planning in light of obviously tumultuous global events, monitoring, multiple conflict zones overseas. That's obviously a huge concern. And then certainly preparedness. There's no secret. Sometimes you got to put in the work. And I think we're fortunate to have a city, a state, and a public-private sector partnership where we're not just sharing information, we're collaborating in meaningful ways, because it's one thing to throw something over a fence and say, hey, you guys deal with it. And another one to roll up your sleeves and say, hey, look, we're in this together.
Yeah, we're the ones to do it. Dave, anything else top of mind for you?
No, I just want to say, thank you. It's people like Colin who are the real heroes. And, for somebody who's been in cyber for 25 years, these are the people who do all the hard work. It's like being a hockey goalie and you get 1,000 pucks a day shot at you and you got to stop every single one of them. And these are the people on the lines who do all the work behind the scenes to help us. We're really appreciative of everything you've done.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Really
Awesome.
appreciate it.
Colin Ahern, Dave DeWalt, great to have both you guys here at the New York Stock Exchange. You guys are welcome back anytime.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for making this work.
Appreciate it.